Hello, everybody. Yeah, nice meeting you. So it's already kind of 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I know you had like a long day, but I try to make it more entertaining than maybe some of the presentations before. So yeah, let's get started. So what you can see in here is that I am presenting how actually our team is doing projects for our clients. And like this project is about a digital twin, which is actually real time and it's completely functional. But what it means, like you will see hopefully in a few minutes. But before that, like, hi, I'm Max, nice meeting you. And I love XR. How about you guys? Like maybe it would be nice if somebody who already had an XR device on his head or her head is raising her or his hands in order to see how immersive you already were working in the future or like in the past. Okay, so 50%. Okay, perfect. So 50% you kind of know what I'm doing, but the other ones, hopefully you will get a glimpse afterwards. So the small agenda which I prepared, and this is kind of a very normal way how we are interacting with our clients is, we go to the client, we listen to them, we identify some pain points. Afterwards, we propose something, and then obviously we will solve these problems with our applications. And at the end, obviously, we want to make sure that there is a value add for the client. And obviously, we always want to make our business bigger and bigger. So next steps are important always as well. Let's start with the first slide. And this is kind of like one kind of introduction slide, which I think is very important. So a lot of people are talking always about metaverse, and metaverse, not everybody is getting it in a very 100% way. So for us, industrial metaverse is kind of a combination of many different technologies. So what you can see here, like there can be analytics included, robotics are mostly included. Mostly it's connected to any kind of cloud. There are Internet of Things connections. Obviously, the main part here is AR, VR. How do I visualize it? Like everything is like in 3D, so I can put on a headset or I can just watch it on my computer. We can do modeling on simulation. Obviously, the buzzword AI, Gen AI is always important, which we are bringing into our projects as well. But also like classic mobile devices or tablets are able to visualize it. And the project what we have done for our client is kind of, we went to them, there's like a production hall, you have to think about it's like a car manufacturer, and they have a complete production hall. We went there, we scanned their different lines, robots, machines, and we brought this towards like a 3D environment. And this is working in real time, and we can measure some informations from the MES systems, and people can be there, not alone, but with 50 people, 100 people can be in this one room. So which kind of pain points we had? Like as I mentioned, like normally as Accenture, we listen to the clients and we try to identify their pain points. And after we had some workshops with the client, we figured out that they're using a software, maybe you know it, it's called Visual Components. It's a software for 3D simulation. But the software is only running on one license, and this one license is currently at a PC somewhere in Toulouse, and only this person can look into it. So if somebody from Munich or somewhere else is or does want to have a look into it, like they can't, because like only the one person in Toulouse can have a look into it. So obviously this is not efficient, and they want that everybody in the whole firm are able to see what exactly in this simulation software is working on. The second point is that especially in COVID times, we had the problem that there was a production hall, there was like problems, but people have to always be on site, you know, and being able to be at home, work wherever you are, and see exactly the information, the current status of the lines, of the statuses is very crucial. So at the end, right now they have to travel from A to B, costs a lot of time, a lot of money, CO2 is not the perfect way here. So this is like a big point which they didn't like and which we wanted to solve. And the third point, and I think this is kind of like the most important part, is so as I mentioned, this is like a car manufacturer, and this car manufacturer is having different lines. So they had 3 years ago the problem that in China a complete new production hall is getting built. However, like the lines itself, the machines itself, are coming from German different sites. So kind of they are shifting the lines, kind of copy-pasting, bringing the physical lines from Germany towards China in order to produce the same assets in China than in Germany. But so far, it's quite cost-effective because the people on site, they are not trained, they don't know really how these different production lines are working, and they need kind of 1 to 1.5 months to get onboarded to the line in order to work very smoothly on this line. And these 3 problems we had in mind in order to come up with an idea which is going towards a digital twin. So how does a digital twin look like? Like this is just an architecture, how we solved it, a very pragmatic architecture. But first of all, welcome to the new guests. Feel free to sit yourself. And what you can see here is like at the top, you see this yellow mark, right? So we have like the line, which is like on the right, the different lines, and we do have different data. And what we have done, we use different cloud platforms, in this case on the right-hand side, AWS, where we connected the line towards this visual component software. So we have a complete replica from the physical line in visual components. And from visual components, we stream it into our Unity application. So at the end, the person, and what you can see here on the bottom, can see it either via his or her laptop, like a corporate laptop, or a Quest 3. But obviously, we can also make it on a Apple Vision Pro, like kind of any VR device, we can deploy it. And on the left-hand side, you also see Azure, so we need authentication, we need a database where photos are stored, where texts are stored in order to change the languages. So this kind of technology we used in order to make this project alive. And what you also can see here is an AI assistant, which is kind of like the middleware, which you see afterwards. I prepared some videos for you, and an MQTT broker. So at the end, the data, what we can right now see in their production line is one-to-one streamed into our application. However, like for us, it's always important. You have to think about, a client X is coming and saying, hey, we want to have metaverse or like a digital twin or like a 3D environment. And kind of many different modules are always the same. So for example, what you can see in here, kind of every 3D environment does need avatars, does need kind of whiteboards, they have to be multiplayer, some different connections to the cloud or different 3D softwares are needed. And these things we put into place in order to say, hey, when a new project is coming up, you can always just put them, customize it to the client's needs, and here we go. So normally, if we just talk about, let's say, avatar configurator, if you develop it from scratch, we need around 30 days. But right now, just having the modules in place, downloading it, customize it to clients, we just need 1.5 days. So obviously, this makes it faster to develop and obviously cheaper for the client. And as I mentioned, at the end, we already have a baseline for a Unity project, but every client does need different functionalities, which are coming afterwards. So I just wanted to show you how it looks right now in the application. So as I mentioned, like we have this generic modules, which I will start now, and afterwards you will see like the specific scenarios which we have implemented for the client. So right now you see like a kind of a login page, just you have to think about, you are in the Windows Store, you download an application, and this is like the first pop-up window which you can see. So you have to log in with yourself, with your Azure Active Directory credentials, in order to have a safe login that not everybody around the world who has the application is able to log into the application. And here's a small video how this is looking like. So as I mentioned, like you have a login page, some different pictures from the application are coming up. I'm clicking on logging in. This is my Microsoft account. It's completed. And then it's like a loading bar. Depends how good your internet connection is. It takes sometimes 1 second, sometimes 5, 6 seconds. In this case, when I was recording my screen, I had not the best internet, therefore it took like around 5, 6 seconds. But after a while, I'm getting into the 3D environment, and here we go. You can see myself here as a participant being in the environment. So just for information again, log in, Azure Active Directory is in the back. I'm able to log in myself in a safe way. I do know that only people from my company are in the application, so I can speak there freely without any doubts. The next point is a menu panel. So obviously, I kind of need always some interactions in order to see what is important. So what you see here in the top left is like the participants. As I mentioned, like I can be there alone, but it's a multi-use application. So we can be there up to 100 different people around the world being in this one environment. So in this case, we have 3 guys here. Exactly. And to show you how the menu looks, we have like in the basic way, we have like the avatars here. We have different kind of participants. You can set your different settings, like for example, which kind of visual quality do you want to have, which kind of resolution you want to have, how loud the application is, and obviously how you can move around. So, and what you can see is like the fidelity, right? And some people are coming to us and say, hey, Max, like the fidelity looks good, but obviously it couldn't be better. I have seen something in Video Omniverse, it looks more polished. And I say, yes, of course. But the use case here was that everybody at the firm, 60,000 people with a normal corporate laptop, probably i5 processor, is being able to run this on their application, on their PC in a smooth way. So if these guys do have a very fancy NVIDIA GPU, I would love to do the resolution higher and higher, or like Apple Vision Pro, like if we have these hardware points, obviously I would love to make it higher, but we have so far these restrictions, you know. Therefore, we decided we go for this visual quality. I think it's already looking quite good, but it can be better and better. And I think in the future, if the hardware is getting better, we can make the software better and better as well. So in order to have like a very photorealistic point of view. The next point is, as I mentioned, avatar configurator. So there are different styles how you want to configure yourself. So sometimes we just have some predefined avatars selecting for yourself, but in this case, we really want being able to configure the avatar as I want. So what you can see in here is that I can change my body shape, I can change my skin tone, I can change which kind of facial features I do have, which kind of eye colors I do have. Obviously the clothing is important here as well. So different kind of clothings, colors. So I think you get an idea how you can customize your avatar as you wish. So obviously I could be female, more to the female way, more to the male way. So yeah, this is kind of the configurator which we have in place. And the good thing is, what I wanted to mention is we have a team internally who is constantly developing and improving the different modules. So at the end, this avatar configurator is kind of 2.0, but if somebody in the background is like updating it, making it even fancier, we can deploy it very easily into our projects. The next point is a whiteboard. So obviously sometimes we want to write down our thoughts, right? To collaborate with our people who are in the 3D environment. So what you can see in here is that we implemented a whiteboard where you can bring in some sticky notes. You can write down any kind of text. In this case, obviously, hello Open Slava. You're able to just write down. So the thing is, like right now I'm doing it alone for this demo purposes, but like we can be there with 50 people or like 5 people in a team, and we just can think about which kind of things we want to improve, what we have seen in the 3D environment, which I will show you afterwards. So now let's go to the more specific points. So like these were like kind of the general modules. Obviously we do have more, but I think it gives you a nice impression which kind of modules we have in place. But let's talk about like the specific client needs. And right now you do see their production line. So this is in Visual Components. As mentioned, we went there to the production hall. We selected 2 or 3 different production lines, which are fully automated, because fully automated digital twins are easier than interactions with some real people. And this is currently in Visual Components. And what we have done, we kind of streamed everything from Visual Components into our Unity application. So everybody who is in the application does see in real time, and this is below 1 second, what the movements physical are doing towards the 3D environment. Like we have a delay of less than 1 second as replicated. So what you can see here is that we do have like the robots who are bringing kind of the top of the car towards the car, and as I mentioned, like these movements, we connected with IoT sensors, and everything is streamed from the real production line towards Visual Components and from Visual Components into our application. The next point is that we also want to visualize different kind of data, right? So we do have different MES dashboards within the production hall, and obviously we want to visualize them as well in order to see what is like the current status of each and every single machine and station. So what you can see in here, for example, on the right-hand side is the OE station, which gives you an impression how in the last 7 days the target was, which kind of OE data you wanted to go for, and what is like the quality rate. Did I miss something? Didn't miss something? So these kind of analytics you're able to see here, and you see like from a quality point of view, I think it's very good to understand. Yeah, exactly. So getting this data from their production lines into our 3D environment just gives us like another point of view in order to monitor like the current state of the 3D environment and the different production lines. What we further implemented is, for a different production line, a knowledge graph. So let me just start this again. So we have here a different production line, and within the production line we have a perfect overview what the stations having as information. So right now you see like as a basic, like the line, every line does have different machines, and you see the current state of the machine. So is everything working? It is kind of green. If not everything is working, it's kind of red. And you see like this overall point of view, but also you can click into it, and like the idea as a next step is you can also add for the station what is like kind of the vendor of the station, what is like the entity, like all information below the station can be visualized as well. For this point of view, because we wanted to make it running at the beginning, we just said, okay, we go for these 2 hierarchy points, but in the future we will go deeper and deeper. So at the end the person sees exactly which kind of information every station does have. And the next one is like an assistant. Obviously everybody is talking about ChatGPT and OpenAI, GenAI. So obviously we included this as well. And I think this is very important because like the user story behind is that somebody who is sitting at home or somewhere else and an operator is monitoring the different production lines. And we want that he is getting like all the information based on the production line, in order to find out if something is not perfectly working, how I can fix it. So what we implemented here is an AI assistant which can speak kind of every language in the world. So I think some of you hopefully are from Slovakia, right? So I inserted like a Slovakian question, what is like Vitesco, like, which is like our client, which kind of information you do have. So obviously we have 2 points here, like they can select every kind of information from the open internet, so as ChatGPT is doing, but also you can retrieve specific questions based on the production line with the AI assistant. So right now I just said, okay, let's switch back to English because actually my Slovakian is not the best. Which I'm doing right now, and I'm asking, hey, 1075 is red, why is it red? Can you give me some root causes based on the information you have from different entities which we stored in their database. So after asking this, like they're giving me 3-4 different options. As an operator, I mostly have a second screen in front of me, so I can check, how can it be right that number 1 or number 2 is maybe the thing which is wrong. So I said, okay, hey, number 1 is probably the thing which is not working perfectly. So the next point is to get an information which kind of remediation steps I can do in order to fix the specific problem. But sometimes obviously I can't fix the problem remotely, right? So the people on site need to fix the problem. So the idea right now is that I say, okay, create a maintenance ticket, fill in all the information I do have right now, and send it at the end to the people who are working on site and can fix the physical problem in a physical way. So what you can see is like the work request, which is sent automatically to their email address. So they see the specific maintenance ticket, and you can give it to the on-site engineer, and the on-site engineer can fix it. So to repeat it, what we want to achieve here is somebody who's sitting remotely can detect and monitor the current state of the machines, of the different lines. Afterwards, he can say, okay, maybe I can fix it remotely, but if I can't fix it remotely, I send a maintenance ticket with all the information needed towards the maintenance team. And then the people on site can fix it, can say, hey, everything is fixed and the production line is working as it should. So these were kind of the interactions which we have within the 3D environment. Obviously, there are more production lines, more statuses which I can share, but I think it gives you hopefully a nice glimpse what the project was about. So to conclude here again, what are the benefits using a 3D environment right now? So as I mentioned, the person does not have to be on site in order to see how the machines are working, how the statuses are. The person can monitor it remotely, see the status of every machine, OE, OPM, and the KPIs of the machines, and everything in real time. So as I mentioned, we have a delay latency of, let's say, 1 second, which is obviously very, very low and gives a very good impression. The second point is that I'm not only alone there, I can have my 3-4 strike team in the 3D environment, and I can discuss with them what this different production line needs and which kind of information needs to be included in the maintenance ticket that the maintenance teams can fix it on site. And the third point is, and this is a part which we are right now focusing in the future, is the ramp-up time. So as I mentioned, the people in China, for example, they don't know how the production line is working. They don't know which kind of work they have to do in order to make everything in a smooth way. So the idea is that the people in China are getting a VR headset or the computer in front of them, and they do a training. And this training is how do I work with the production line which is coming in, let's say, 1 week towards my Chinese production hall, which kind of steps I have to do. And furthermore, we already gathered different kind of interviews with the people on site and ask them, hey, what are actually the most critical errors and the most often errors coming up? And these errors, obviously, we want right now to integrate that if this error is coming up, they already know how this error is to fix in order to shorten the stop of the production line. Because if an error is coming up, the production line will stop. Every minute costs a lot of money for the client. And if the person who already trained the specific error scenario is being able to solve it in a faster way, obviously every minute gives a lot of money back to the client. Next steps, as I mentioned, we want to include more and more digital twins and production lines into the platform. The trainings are very, very important because the ramp-up phases, but also error scenarios are a point where 3D environments are very, very important. And right now we only have the direction from the production line towards the digital twin, but not the way around. So it's not yet bidirectional. But actually, if you are in the 3D environment, you can also already change something and then it's fixed on the production line itself as well. So this bidirectional communication, we want to implement in the next phase. Obviously, there needs to be some security standards given, but these are the next steps which we are right now working with our client. And this is kind of it. I hope you got a nice glimpse how we at Accenture within the XR space are starting our projects from workshops to the ideas, to the real development, and obviously thinking what next steps and features can be ahead. So yeah, thank you very much for joining, and hopefully you learned something today.
Thank you, and we've got some questions. So the first is, what is the utilization of the digital twin by the client? Is it in extensive use in practice?
That's a very good question. So right now, this project went live like half a year ago, and it's one team, which are around 20 people who were kind of our people we worked with. They're using it very tremendously. But for the big company, like 60,000 people, they are obviously not yet working on it. But this specific team of 20 people are working with it. And like the most important part to bring more people into it is more use cases, and make it very deep. Especially like the training part, which is getting implemented in the near future, is like a part where we can bring new departments into the environment in order, to learn something, to immerse themselves, and use obviously the application.
Okay, so as far as I get this question, can the people in the real and in the virtual world interact with each other? So as far as I understand, it's something like hybrid mode.
Can you repeat the last
can
words,
the
please?
people in the real and in the virtual world interact with each other?
Okay, so this project is right now virtual reality only. So the people virtually can't so far interact with the people on site. However, like in the near future, for example, this assistant, we would try to work on that. They don't need like a fancy glass or whatever. They just need kind of a headset in their ear, and they are connected to the specific problem. So if they are standing in front of a production line and do say, okay, hey, there is like a problem coming up, but I personally can't fix it right now, I can create a maintenance ticket, include all the information which are needed in order to fix it, and then bring this to the specific maintenance team. So this would be kind of a hybrid approach, and obviously this information can be then visualized in the 3D environment as well. But for this specific case, for a MetaQuest 3, which we are using, so far it's isolated.
How did you get the 3D model out of the real production line?
That's a good question. So kind of we always have two ways, like the first way is, which is like the easiest way, the client does have already some 3D models existing. But normally what we are doing, we are going with different lines, like a Metaport or Navis system towards like the 3D, the physical line. And we're just doing a lot of photos, 360 degrees videos, and based on this footage, we can make 3D digital twins out of it, but they are so far only static, So furthermore, we have to use all the different sensors, connect them with the entities of the different 3D models, and then they can work and move and be functional in the 3D environment.
So we've got one more question. Let me. How does virtual environment respond to changes in layout of the physical space?
Okay, I'm not 100% sure if I get the question perfectly, but normally if you have a VR headset in front of you, you have like a specific area which you are allowed to move, so you have to mark it at the beginning. So for example, if there is like the table, I mark my specific area where I can move around in front of me, and if I'm going towards the table, like the real environment is coming up and I'm not able to walk further, or for example, there are some steps I don't want to fall over, right? So this is kind of the way how we are working, that we have like a boundary around you. It's kind of a circle, and you can either walk around the circle, but if obviously you have a very big hall, you can walk around the whole hall. But yeah, normally you only have like a space of, let's say, 2 times 2 meters. So this boundary is around you, and then you move yourself with the controllers, which you do have. I hope, I don't know who asked the question, but this is going to the right direction of the question.
Can digital twins only be used in large-scale environments? as an example, factories, or can it be also utilized for standalone devices, example, home appliance?
Home advanced, you said at the end?
Appliance.
Okay. So actually it doesn't matter. So it can be a complete production hall, or it can be just this beautiful bottle of water, you know. So it doesn't matter which kind of object you have. You can do every different object in a 3D environment. And sometimes if you use, for example, MR, you know, you just see your true environment, but only like the specific bottle is like a 3D model which you can look around. So for example, different car manufacturers like BMW or Jaguar are using it, that they have the whole car in a 3D way in front of them, and then they can configure like the color, which kind of wheels, what is like the interior looking from the Jaguar. So these points of view you can configure in a very easy way actually.
So there is some, so I meant if the layout of physical premises changes, machines, moves, etc., what happens in the digital twin environment? Does it have to be recreated manually to reflect new layout?
Okay, gotcha. So normally you have a production line, you walk once around, right, and the machine is looking like status A, and then 2 months afterwards, like something was added on. So basically, it's not automatically changed to the 3D environment, so you have to do this scannings again, and then you can deploy it. So what we have done, for example, here is that every 1 month, somebody from our contractor, Navis, is walking around, is getting like the updates of the production line and the production hall, and like the AI is scanning what differences we had from the previous model versus the current one, and only the differences will then be deployed towards like the 3D environment and the 3D models, but the existing ones will keep like the same. But yeah, actually you have to do it in a manual way so far.
When does it make sense to go 3D instead of just a normal dashboard?
In terms of dashboard, probably there is not like the biggest reason why you should go 3D, because it's kind of visualizing data, right? So this specific point which you have seen with the dashboards itself, it's just a further function of getting information to the client. So yeah, like in this specific way, it doesn't make sense, but I think the most important use case, what we are mostly facing, is this immersiveness. I'm not sure if you already had like a XR headset in front of you, but if you are inside this environment, you know, like the production line who is 1.50 m, I'm 1.93 m, like I can see what the measurements are. So it's a complete different way than just looking on my laptop and see, okay, there is kind of a machine. So this immersiveness, feeling it, seeing it in a real measurement is something which is very different. And like the trainings perspective is very important, because if you read, for example, something or just listen to something, like 5 months afterwards, I ask you, and probably you can't remember. But if you are doing these trainings by yourself, step by step, your retention rate is much higher than just listening to me, for example. You know, if you're in the 3D environment, I would swear in 3 months you would still know what exactly we are doing here. But listening to my talk obviously lasts some months as well, but probably in 5 months you don't know every single word what I'm talking about.
So I see no more questions. So thank you very much for your presentation, for answering questions.